Alrighty, what's going on, my powerlifting people? Thank you for tuning in to another live stream. This is going to be our final recap video for the IPF Classic Powerlifting World Championships. I was not able to do a breakdown the last 2 days. A lot of my weekly update emails from my clients come in on, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into even Monday. And so a lot of the work I do is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and even into Tuesday. So the past 2 days have been pretty busy as far as answering coaching emails, sending out new training blocks, having some new clients get started. So I have to prepare everything for them, send out videos going over how we do everything and how everything is set up for them. And of course, Saturday night we had some UFC fights that started a little bit earlier. And then yesterday at 1 o'clock we had a Dolphins game. Dolphins didn't do too well, but I went and watched it anyways with a buddy. So I figured, okay, now on Monday, now I got most of my coaching work done. Still got some more to do. We'll come over here and do a final recap of those final last few weight classes that we missed out on, and then going over the best lifter awards, the team breakdown, and then going over the fantasy league. So we'll hop over to my computer and we will get right into it. So you all should know by now, if you're listening to other episodes live or watching afterwards, you go to goodlift.info, and as always I throw it in the chat too in case you are in the live stream, and you can click on it directly and go there, and that's where you would see the timetable if you're trying to watch any of the sessions, the nominations, the results here. These first two are the Masters 1, 2, 3, and 4, and sub juniors and juniors, and then these two over here are the Open. And then if they were live, obviously we'd have the rooms here. So they still have the live stream link here to YouTube. So the videos from the Open are still not on YouTube yet. Probably eventually it'll be maybe in a week or two or something like that. But if you go down, you can see all the Masters, sub juniors, and juniors here. And then for the Open, it's just highlights of one-off lifts like world records and everything like that. So if you wanted to go look at, little highlights and see world records from different lifters, you can look at that. But if you wanted to see the actual lifting, you'd have to go to the Olympic channel. Easiest way is to go over to the IPF website, and then the link is there on the homepage for now. We'll see how long it stays up there before they get rid of it. But that's where you would go, and you can see all the replays here. So we'll see how long it takes before they move it over to YouTube. But you can still check out all the replays, and you can scrub through and everything like that if you want to skip through certain stuff, but they are all here. So we'll close that out. We'll go to the timetable real quick to go over what we missed out on, which was here Saturday and Sunday. So for the men, we missed out on the 105s and up, and on the women, we missed out on the 84s and up. So let's go do the 84 and 84 plus real quick, and then we can do the 105s, 120, 120 plus. So we'll go to Women Classic Open. And in actuality, the 76s results wasn't up when I did the live stream for that, but we already knew, who won. It was going to be a pretty easy win going in, and it ended up being a pretty easy win at the end. But just to quickly review, Jess, hit the world record 210.5 on squat on the second, missed the 218 on the third, got 3 benches in, and then got the 247.5 deadlift on the second, which is a world record, and a world record total at 563. She tried to go for the 257, which would have bumped her up a little bit on points too. I don't know if it would have been enough to get into the best lifter breakdown over here. It may have gotten her over Joy, so it looks like maybe she would have gotten third, but I didn't actually go calculate the exact number, but she ended up missing it. In second, this lifter from Italy, Francesca, did really good. 3 for 3 on squat. Her only hiccup here was bench press, but she went from 102 to 107, so maybe she could have gotten 105, got another 2.5, and then just cruised as far as deadlifts. She wanted to get the silver here, so as soon as Sophia Ellis here hit the 227.5, she did the 230 in order to get the silver, and silver overall. Pretty comfortable lead. Joyce had a pretty comfortable bronze medal here, only getting 1 squat in, but she made all her benches and deadlifts in order to hold on to this spot here. No one was really chasing her because Sophia was actually lower, so she took a 10-kilo jump. So she was actually at 480, so she was down here actually behind this lifter on bodyweight as well. So she was down at 6th and then took that 10 kilo jump to get the bronze medal in the deadlift, get 4th place overall, and to hit a 500-pound deadlift 501. So 500-pound deadlift in competition. So who knows if she had gotten maybe 162 here, got another 2.5, and maybe got 105 here. She had some issues with her calling her on soft elbows. So maybe she would have gotten another 2.5 there. She would have been, 495 with this. And then she could have maybe gone 230 if she wanted to take a shot at the bronze. But with those misses, 3 misses over here, at that point, she was just like trying to place as high as possible, come away with a medal here on deadlift. So that was the 76s. Going to 84s, similar thing. We knew who was going to win. They had a sizable lead, and it turns out that they end up winning by quite a bit, around 80 kilos. So Amanda, gets the world record here on squat on the second, 243.5, and then was not able to come up with the 250 on the third. Still comes away with the world record and the gold medal. Kind of cruises on bench press, getting 132.5 and an easy gold medal there. And then she really turns it up on deadlift. Like she does the 240 easy to like lock in the world title, jumps straight to 258 for the world record and gets that, and then just goes up to 260.5, which is exactly what she needed to get the best lifter. So since she already knew what everyone else had done the previous days and knew what Leah had hit, so once she weighed in, she knew what her total needed to be, took the 260.5, was a world record in the deadlift, world record here in a total at 636.5. She's hit more than that, but that was in a local meet in Minnesota where you obviously can't break world records. So she was able to bump up her own world record here. And then the 120.62, you come down here, you can see beat out the 120.06 from Leah. So she got the best lifter award as well with that final pull. So really successful day for Amanda, only missing that third squat. Maybe she could have bumped up her total a little bit if she went something more conservative, like 145.5 or something. But, still golds across the board. World record on squat, deadlift total, best lifter, back-to-back. Even though, last year didn't happen, it's still considered back-to-back. So a really good day for her. Angelina, who ended up moving up a weight class, you can see, she weighed in heavy, obviously, for being a 76 kilo lifter and previously 72, but, comfortably in this weight class, 84.38. So she has a lot of space to build out if she wants to go full 84, or she can spend some time and go back down to 76s and see if she can challenge Jess. And she started off nice with her squat here. You can see 197, then there's 210 for the continental record. Kristen here from Iceland does 200, and then 212.5 for the continental record. And then Angelina here hits 217.5 for the continental record, and Kristen only matched her. She didn't try and go for 220. So Angelina gets the record. I think that was like a 7.5 kilo PR for her on squat, and she gets the silver. Then she cruises on bench as well, 105, 110, 115. I think her PR was 110, so PR there on bench, gets the bronze. Kristen ends up missing the third, so she only ends up with 112.5. So now she's behind 2.5 kilos, and Angelina has the body weight advantage. Then Angelina's got a big deadlift as well, so she opens up with 225, and I think her PR is 240. And for whatever reason, she just wasn't able to get to 232.5. So that's where kind of things slowed down. Maybe it was a fast session for her. Maybe she had some kind of specific injury for deadlift that didn't bother her on squat. Not sure what happened, but, she ended up missing the 232.5 and was about 15 kilos under her best, but it was still enough to hold on. So you can see Kristen does the 210. So now she's 15 kilos behind on deadlift, and she was already 2.5 kilos behind on subtotal. So now she's 17.5 kilos behind, plus she doesn't have the body weight. So she takes a 12.5 kilo jump, and her making it and Angelina missing it, at least now she gains some ground. Now she's 2.5 behind on deadlift and 2.5 behind on the subtotal. So she's 5 kilos behind and disadvantage at body weight. So that's why she has to do the 7.5 kilo jump. So at least maybe she felt like, there was a chance, because obviously at that point, Angelina missed her second deadlift, and you only need 7.5 kilos more. You went up 12.5, and you only need 7.5. So, okay, this is very doable. And then unfortunately, she missed the 230. I didn't watch it to see how difficult it was. So at that point, Angelina had the silver secured and Kristen was in the bronze. So, at least it came down to the final deadlift because Angelina had missed these two. She was on point and, got that and maybe then would have had the win sealed, she could have gone for more there, like I said, 240, 242, maybe bumped up her total much higher to what she wanted because I think she was hoping more for like 585 going into the meet when we did the episode with her on King of Lifts. So not sure what happened in order to end up with 557, but still coming away with silver on squat and the European record, bronze on bench, and silver overall. With the European record, you can't complain. Had a nice little battle there with Kristen. And then Danielle, unfortunately from Canada, had a bad day, getting one squat in, getting two benches in, and then one deadlift in. So she wasn't able to keep up with Angelina and Kristen, but she was able to hold off Sonita here from Belgium in order to at least get fourth place and points for the team. And she got the silver medal here in the bench press. Other than that here, the only thing that stand out is this lifter Sonita got, silver on the deadlift. And looks like the European record here on deadlift. And then Katja from Denmark here got the bronze medal in deadlift. And you can see there's a lot of misses here for third attempts and even some misses here for second attempts. Whereas bench, bench oftentimes you see more misses on third because you really don't have anywhere to go. You take the 2.5 kilo jump like Amanda did here and some other lifters like, here. And so sometimes you miss and there's nowhere you can go. But, overall some good makes here. And then squat, overall some good makes here. So this, not watching the full session, this kind of looks like it was just a fast session. Like some of these lifters aren't ready for it's only 10 lifters. And then you get a 20-minute break between squat and bench, and then a 20-minute break between bench and deadlift. So this session could have been 2 hours or less. And so by the time you get to deadlift, it's so fast paced that you can get gassed out, especially if you're trying to take big jumps to battle out for individual medal or the overall. But, good day there as far as Amanda and then Angelina doing what she needs to pull off the silver. Then we go into 84 plus, which was interesting without having Bonica there. There was a couple lifters in contention, and that's exactly what happens, a battle of the top three here. So you can see Brittany opens up the lightest with 217, then Emily Leach from Sweden does 220, and then Amelie Mierger from France does 222. And, this one looked a bit difficult, but you can see she takes smaller jumps here. So Brittany takes a little bit bigger jump, going 7.5, getting to 225. Emily Leach takes the 7.5 and misses, and then Amelie Mierger takes the 5 kilo and makes. Then we go into thirds, and so Emily retakes her 227, comes back and gets it, which is great that she's able to come back and execute. And then Brittany gets the 230, so she gets another 5 kilos, and then Emily gets the 5 more. So, Emily takes 5 and 5 and gets 10, whereas Brittany gets 12, and then Emily Leach only gets 7.5. And they go 3, 4, 5 in the squat because you have these two lifters right here. And Olga, being a junior lifter, actually gets the 235 as a European junior record and the silver medal. And then Anna-Lena from Sweden actually gets 245 for the European record and gold. Then we go into the bench press. Brittany again opens up the lightest with 120. Then Emily Leach takes 127. And then Emily Mierger takes the biggest one, 137.5. So, pretty big opener right there. Then, again, you can see Brittany likes taking a little bit of the bigger jumps up 7.5 to 127, gets it. Leach from Sweden only takes 5, gets to 132. And then Mierger takes 7.5 as well to 145, gets the European record right there. And then, fortunately for Mierger here, Brittany goes up 2.5 and misses. Leach goes up 2.5, makes. And then the reason why I say it's lucky is because Mierger goes up 5, and she was pressing, and it looks like one side kind of tipped down, and that side that tipped down, the spotters grabbed it. So they maybe didn't necessarily see the entire bar go down, But since they're only focused on their side and they saw the bar tilt, they thought the bar was going down and they grabbed it. So then the coach went to the jury to protest it, and for whatever reason, the jury did not give them a relift. Maybe they did see the entire bar go down, or they felt that, like, that side was going down and it was going to go down and fail anyways. So they didn't give her a relift. So she got stuck with the 145. So she, like I said, she's lucky that Brittany, missed out there, because that would have, made it more difficult to play catch up, where this way she's still in a fight with her, because Mierger squatted 2.5 kilos more and then also benched 17.5 kilos more. So she's up 20 kilos going into deadlift, where Brittany has the deadlift. And she got the gold here on bench. Leach gets the silver. And then down here, Olga, the junior lifter, gets a 135 for bronze. So really good there from Olga from ROC from Russia, getting silver on squat and a world record for the juniors, and bronze on bench, as she's turning 20 years old this year. So more years in the juniors, and then also she can develop her deadlift and then be a more all-around lifter here in the open. So then that's when we go into deadlifts, and you see Mierger now is opening up the lightest, where she had the bigger squat and bench press. So she opens up with 222.5, Leach does 230, and then Brittany does 232.5. So now Brittany has gained a 10 kilo lead on Mierger here, where she was, behind the 20 kilos here. And then if we also compare Brittany to Leach, you can see Brittany had 2.5 kilo gain here, but she lost 7.5 here, 135 to 127.5. So she's also 5 kilos behind on subtotal to Leach, but she gains 2.5 of it here on the opener. So Brittany's like building some momentum here, making 5 out of 6 attempts, being behind on subtotal, but having the biggest deadlift opener, and that is her lift, and she's the lightest lifter. So now she can start making some jumps and gaining some ground on these other lifters. So you can see Mierger only takes a 5 kilo jump, which is a smart thing to do, because her opener was a little bit slow, but also at that point, if you're up on subtotal, because she's not up on subtotal on both of them, you don't want to take too big of a jump, too big of a risk, miss twice, and let the other lifters pass you by. So you take a smaller jump, pad your lead, okay? It's like if you're playing football, you just play like a safer defense. You don't go too aggressive and push and let them get an easy touchdown. So you play it safe, you give up the smaller plays. So here you're trying to play it safe, give up the smaller plays. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for her, where she had issues finishing off her lockout. So she couldn't quite get the shoulders all the way back with the knees locked out in order to get the lockout. So she ends up getting a no lift. Then Leach jumps up 10 kilos to 240, gets it, and Brittany jumps 12.5 to 245 and gets it. So now Mierger is in a really bad spot, because now she's behind those lifters. Okay, so if we go off of just second attempts being done, Mierger is at 600, whereas Leach is at 602.5, and Schlater, Brittany from Canada, is also at 602.5. So now your two competitors are 2 kilos ahead of you, and you missed your second attempt. So tough spot to be in. And so she ended up going another 5 kilos up, because, at that point, you're assuming that your competitors are going to be able to make more attempts, and you're behind both lifters on total, and you weigh more than Brittany, so you'd have to do 605 anyways to keep up with Brittany at a minimum, or try and do 607 or 610 to put more pressure on them to have to pull more and more. So they could have retaken the 227.5, gotten to 605, and then these two lifters would have been at 602.5, and they would have to make their move. They decided to go up another 5 to get to 610 and put pressure on them. But again, the same issue. Came off the ground fine, but then that last bit, she had just trouble being able to get the shoulders back with the knees locked out. And so she misses. So at that point, she's out. She's stuck in the bronze medal. So now it's a battle between Leach from Sweden and Brittany from Canada. Brittany has the body weight, and she has the bigger deadlift. And even if they want to take the same deadlift, Brittany has the lot number. So now she has all the advantages going into this final deadlift. She just has to execute. Leach goes up 5 kilos to 245, gets it. Continental, or you want to say European record since she's Sweden, European record in deadlift, European record in total here, beating out Mierge. And then Brittany just needs to do another 5 kilos as well to match her. So she also goes up 5 kilos, gets to 250, which gets her the gold in deadlift. And then the world championship, she gets tying and winning on body weight. So quite an interesting battle there, going back and forth there, where Leach had to, Leach missed the squat, had to come back and get it. Both Brittany and Mierge missed a bench press, and then Mierge falls out by missing 2 deadlifts, and Brittany just, stays ahead of Leach in order to get the world title. And, all these were kind of underneath the nominated numbers. So if we go look at what the original nominated numbers were, you can see Mierge was at 613.5. And so she lost the 5 kilos here on bench press, getting only to 145. And then she lost like 10 kilos there on deadlift, not being able to lock out the 227 or 232. So that's what really hurt her, dropped her down. And then, Brittany was able to put, 10 kilos, and Leach was able to put, 20, 25 kilos on her nominated number and go past. So good little fight there. And, Brittany was the one who was able to execute the most lifts and the biggest deadlift in order to win. And then, like I said, Olga, we'll see in the future, if she can get this deadlift up into the 200s to be competitive with those other lifters. You can see she's 40 kilos behind the bronze medal, and she actually got the European junior record in total as well. So, if she's able to put another 5 kilos, let's say on squat, another 5 kilos on bench press, now she's at 570. So then maybe she can get up to 210. So now she's at 590. Maybe she can get up to 220. She's up to 600. So, she'll make progress over these next years as a junior and into the open. And we'll see how high she can get as far as these other competitors. Then we go into the team points, and, France wins fairly easily with their 3 golds. So they didn't even need Mierge to get gold. If she did, that would have been, another 4 points. It would have gotten to 57 out of 60. So they would have almost been perfect. But because they got those 3 golds with Tiffany, Naomi, and Leah, they're pretty much locked up. And at that point, as long as Mierge was somewhere, on the podium, they were going to, win. Even if she wasn't, it depends on how much she would have dropped. She would have to drop 4 more points, and they would have won on GO points. So they really would have to drop 5 more points. So if she had dropped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if she had gotten, last place. So if she had gotten last place or bombed out or something like that, then at that point, Canada could have passed them. So France was in a really good spot to win. They get the best team for the women's side. So that's great on them. Canada comes away with their 2 golds and their 2 silvers, enough to cruise to the silver. And then USVI just, didn't have enough firepower with only a few lifters from USAPL switching over. And it was very late notice as far as switching, but they did just enough to stay ahead of Great Britain. So with their 2 golds there, with Chandler and Amanda, then, they got enough points around there to stay ahead with 39 points. And you can see it's very close after them. 37 for Great Britain, 36 for Italy, 31 for Russia, 29 for Sweden. So good battle there out of 26 teams. And then we kind of went over the best lifters already. Amanda did just enough on that last deadlift in order to win. Leah gets second. Who knows if she had gotten that 3rd squat, if she had gone deeper and gotten that, whether Amanda would be able to pull more in order to get it. So really close battle there. And then Joy, moving up the weight class, ends up getting the 3rd best lifter there now in the 57 kilo class. So that covers the women's side. So now we can go over to the men's side and do the 105 kilo class and up. So we'll come back here. We'll pull up the men's nominations. And we'll go here to the 105s. And again, this was another weight class where once Ashton dropped out, we assumed that Anatoly had made enough progress moving up a weight class that he was going to, fairly comfortably be able to just make attempts and cruise to a win. It wouldn't be a huge gap, but as long as, making attempts, and there was no injuries, and I think that he was going to win, which is why a lot of people had him high in their points as far as their fantasy league. So you can see he only weighs in 102.8, so more room to grow. He opens up with the world record in the squat, 343.5, and it was interesting if you go watch it. It looked a little shaky, did not look comfortable for him. So he's shaky going down and comes up, and he gets called 2-1. I don't remember if it was depth or knees or something like that. It was since it was a few days ago. I don't remember exact calls. But then they went to the jury and they protested it and they got it overturned, which is, to me, was like, okay, that's a big difference because, like I said, that 343.5 was not easy. So at that point, when you're just watching that one attempt and the opener does not look easy and they get called for 2 reds, I'm thinking like, there's a chance that you could bomb out. Maybe not a high chance, not like 75% chance, but maybe there's like 25, 35% chance that he can, continue to miss and bomb out here, and then he just gives up the world title. But fortunately, they got it overturned, and then I don't know what happened because he goes up to 355, and that looked a little bit more comfortable. It was still shaky, but looked better, and he gets the world record. Then he goes up to 360, and that looked good as well. So it didn't really slow him down or get worse or anything like that. If anything, it kind of stayed the same or improved. Some of the issues were just like maybe that so much weight on his back that he was just shaking, which sometimes happens to Ashton as well. And then the other thing was like his hands were like kind of slipping on the bar a little bit on the way up. So maybe he didn't have as much control over it. But 3 world records, gold medal, interesting start. Then he gets, 215, 225, misses 231 for the world record, but still gets the gold. And then cruises on deadlift, 330, 342, 352, gets bronze, world record in the total. So then it really comes into a battle between Emil Quarantine, or Coco as they called him, and Levon battling it out there for the podium. So you can see here, Levon opens up the lightest, 305, and then he gets 312 and 317. So he puts on 12 and a half. Coco here gets 310, misses the 325, but comes back and gets it, which was great because he really needed those 15 kilos. Didn't want to get stuck with it just as opener, and gets the bronze medal. And then Emil does 325, 337, and misses out on a 345. So while he still gets a silver, he puts on only 12 and a half. So Coco here gets 15, and Levon here gets 12 and a half. So a little bit of a tight battle there, and you can see, Emil has the bigger squat, but he doesn't have the bigger bench. So then he loses some ground here. So as you can see here, he opens up a 195, gets 200, and misses the 205. So he only adds 5 over his opener. But Coco here opens up with 200, misses 205, comes back and gets 205. So he only puts on 5. And then Levon opens 215, the best bencher of the group. Jumps only 7.5 to 222, gets it, and then misses 227. So he only gains 7.5 across from first to third. So he only gains that 2.5 closer in subtotal compared to the other two. So a little back and forth here with the misses. Emil missing both of his thirds, Coco missing both of his seconds and having to come back and get it, and then Levon missing that third bench. So then we go into deadlift, where Levon is the lightest deadlifter, so he does 335. And then based on lot number, Emil does the 340, but puts in 357.5. And then Quarantine does the 340 and only puts in 352.5. So, interesting that he decided to take a smaller jump than Emil, even though he got to watch his lift. But we move on to the second attempts, and based on lot number, Levon goes first and he misses. So that's a tough spot to be in now that you're the weaker deadlifter and now you've already missed your second attempt. So you're putting yourself behind here. And then Coco goes and makes his 352. And then Emil goes and makes his 357. So now if we're looking at second attempts, Levon's pretty far behind with 875. Coco is at 882, and then Emil is at 895. So, a little bit of decent gaps there between all three of them, but, they're still taking big jumps on deadlifts with these kind of weights so they can gain that ground. So Levon goes and bumps his up to 355 because he wants to add 20 kilos to get him to 895. So he's trying to go and pull all the way from from fourth over to the silver medal position. He has body weight, on Emil. So he weighs 104.84. Emil weighs 104.94. So Emil's at 895. So he's like, okay, I'll take a 20 kilo jump and go to 895. So he didn't even try to, okay, let me just go for silver, because at that point he passed the minimum amount he needed to be ahead of Quarantine. So at that point, it was 352.5 to be just below Emil, or you might as well go 355 and be ahead of Emil and then see what they both do. So we tried to do the 355. He missed it. So now he's out at 875. So then it comes the battle of these two. And Coco decides to go another 12.5 kilos, goes 365, which is a junior world record since he's still in the juniors. He's turning 21 this year. And he gets it. And so then that gives him the 12.5 he needed in order to tie Emil on total, and he weighs lighter, 103.76 to 104.94. So at that point, Emil needs to go and make one more deadlift. So here's where part of your strategy comes in this situation. You can see he ends up totaling 10 kilos more. So he didn't need it. What he only needed was 2.5 kilos more, 897.5. So he only needed 7.5 kilos. He went 7.5 kilos more needed. So all he needed was 360 deadlift. But if you do a 360 deadlift, you're going before your competitors doing 365. So here's where some of your strategy comes into play and how confident you are in your deadlift is, do you take a lighter number to pad your total more, but you go before your competitor can see what you do, whether you make or miss, and then they can change their attempt up higher if you do make and pull for the win? Or do you wait it out, let your competitor go with what they think they're capable of, and see if they can even catch you on total or not? If they miss, it's game over, you win. If they make it, now you have to go and pull, but you have to pull a bigger number than you need. So in this case, they must have felt very confident with the 357.5. They said there's no need to do the 360. If they did a 360, then Quarantine would have done 367.5, and maybe he would have gotten it and beat him. So they said, let's wait it out. Let's let Quarantine go, especially since Emil's already in the lead on second attempts. So let Quarantine make the next move. Make him bump up into the silver medal position and then have you pull for it. So they let him do the play. He gets to 365. So at that point, based on lot number, Quarantine has lot number 14. Emil has lot number 9. So since Emil has the lowered lot number 9, he can't go down to 365 because that would be the incorrect order. If he was going to do 365, he would have to go first. So the minimum amount Emil can take at that point is 367.5. So that's exactly what he does a 367.5, gets it, gets the silver medal in the total and the gold medal in the deadlift. So nice little battle there between those two, and good on Emil that, maybe it was a weight cutting issue because he weighed in 104.94. So maybe he cut a lot, or it was a tough cut to make that 0.94, which caused him to potentially miss his third squat and his third bench and left, 7.5 kilos there and 5 kilos there. But he was able to make enough on his deadlift, and deadlift is the least affected by body weight, and he had more time throughout the day in order to rehydrate and everything like that, and he was able to execute and get the silver. So it would have been a little bit closer as far as him catching Anatoly. If he was able to get this, he would have been at 912, and here he'd be at 917. So he'd be a little bit closer, but still 20 kilos behind. So we'll see going forward with both these lifters being 1996, so both fairly young, seeing how they develop in the 105s, and if Anatoly's just going to keep going up with his total, or if these other guys are going to catch him, if maybe in the future, if Ashton be able to come to Worlds and challenge Anatoly. So it should be interesting going forward. And like I mentioned, for Quarantine from France, he's only turning 21 this year, so he has a number of years left in the juniors. And as a junior, he's already getting to the bronze medal, and that's coming back and making his second, making his squat after missing on the second, and making his bench after he missed. So maybe he has some more here if he executes his technique a little better, gets his peak down, whatever the issue was, and then continue to get stronger. He's going to be 900 plus as well, challenging these guys going forward. So that should be interesting weight class going forward. Other than that, the nothing really interesting here as far as the placing. You know, Levon got the silver here on bench, but other than that, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 on squat and deadlift for the top 3 total guys. Got the individual medals as well. In the 120s, that was an interesting battle here as well. One thing here you can see at the bottom, Piotr Sadowski, who is like a regular competitor. I didn't see what the issue was, but he missed 3 squats. So he bombed out. He gets 1 bench in and then misses 2 more benches, which he was trying to go for a bench medal, gets 4th, and then does 1 deadlift. I'm not even sure if he tried this or not. And then, so off day for him. And then we go into the battle of the top guys here, the top 4. And you can already see the finish right here. Constantine, Tony, Sank, and then Bryce. So a lot of people were expecting Sank to win. I'm not sure what his cut was like, but you can see how he opens up with 320. And the 320, they called at least 1 on lockout on his knees being soft. I don't remember if they're both knees or if it was 1 depth and 1 knees, but he misses that. And so he goes and retakes it, smart thing to do. And he gets that. And then he jumps, you know, it's difficult. He jumps only a little bit to 330 and he misses that. I believe 2 for depth or maybe 1 depth and 1 knee again. I forget. But I think maybe they went to the jury on that one. They didn't give it to him. So he starts off 1 for 3. Not a good start for him. Whereas the other guys, Constantine, 3 for 3, puts 22.5 kilos from first to third. Tony goes 2 for 3, but he only loses out on the 7.5, so he puts 20 kilos on. And then Bryce over here, 292 to 315, so he puts 22.5 kilos on his total from first to third. So all these guys are gaining 20 kilos or more from first to third, building up towards their total. And Sank is stuck there with his opener, and he gets 4th place. The gold medal is actually down here. Victor Mattsson from Sweden gets 335 for the gold in the squat. Then we go into bench press, and you can see here Sank gets to 210. He goes out to 220, and he just straight up misses it. He presses and just drops it right on himself. And same thing on the third. It goes to take retake 220, presses it for maybe a second, and then just drops it on himself like he had no power. So now he goes 1 for 3 on the bench press. And he's, 4th on squat and 6th on bench. So now he's in a terrible spot, and you wonder if it's a weight cut or what the issue is and whether that's going to continue because there's only 14 lifters. So this is a fast session as well. And again, the other guys are making some ground. Constantine, 3 for 3, puts on 10 kilos from first to third. Tony, 2 for 3, but still puts on 10 kilos here, just misses out on another 5. And then Bryce here, 3 for 3. He had a retake, so we won't count the retake, but 3 for 3 here, and he puts on 10 kilos. If he didn't have to retake this 192, I forget what the issue was, but they went and protested, got a relift. Maybe he would have tried a little bit more if he didn't have to do 4 attempts. So maybe he would have gotten 197 or 200, but still good that he was able to come back and get it and get 10 kilos added on. So now again, all these guys are gaining 10 kilos from first to third, building on their total, and Sank is the odd man left behind. So you can see Tony gets the gold on bench, Constantine gets the bronze, and then down here, Dmitry Lee from Kazakhstan with 230 on his opener gets the silver medal. Then we go into deadlift, where Sank has the biggest deadlift opener in. So at least you're saying, okay, there's still a chance. He's got a big deadlift. He's pulled, I think, 400 in training. I don't know if he pulled it in a meet at super heavyweight. And you're like, okay, body weight is affected least on deadlift. Maybe he can still pull off the win, or even, silver or bronze. So we go into our deadlifts here. Tony actually, I believe, dropped his deadlift opener down, so he does 325, smokes it. Constantine does 350, fine. Bryce goes here 365, smokes it, and then Sank goes here 370 for a continental record here, European record. And it wasn't as easy as these other guys. It wasn't as easy as Bryce's. Excuse me. But for whatever reason, he wanted to stick with his plan. He goes straight to 390. So then we go into second attempts. Tony takes a 25 kilo jump. He does 350, and it looks all right. Sometimes, you take those big jumps. He takes a 25 kilo jump. It's hard to assess how much more you have in you. One way you can think about it, if you take a big jump like that and it's a little bit slow, not like, RPE 10, but a little bit slow, is you can cut the jump that you did in half, and somewhere there below would be around where you are. So if he takes a 25 kilo jump, you cut it in half, it's 12 and a half. That's when you end up doing. He ended up missing it, but maybe he would have been there on another day if it wasn't as fast, but maybe he would have had 10 or 7 in him. But, he gets the 350. Constantine gets the 367. He's just doing just enough to stay ahead. So he doesn't want to, go too big with his jumps and let these other guys catch him from behind since he already has the lead. And then Bryce goes and does the 385.5 for the world record, breaking his own world record from the Pan American Championships the other month. And he gets it. It didn't look as easy as the Pan Americans, which is somewhat to expected. Like, Pan Americans was less travel, not as much of a time zone difference. And, that was the first meet. Whereas this, he had to get back into prep, travel further. He pushed the squat a little bit more, pushed his bench a little bit more. And so it wasn't quite the same speed where some people thought on the day of the Pan Americans, he had 400 in him. And here, I didn't think he had the 400 in him when I saw it 385.5. But he still got it, and he's staying close with these other guys. And then Sank goes, and he misses the 390, which we all kind of expected with how difficult the 370 was, how hard the day is going, and taking a 20 kilo jump is a big jump. And he just, can't get it past the knees and locked out. So now he's in a tough spot because if we look at the numbers on second attempts, yes, he's above Bryce. And yes, he's above Bryce, but he's behind Tony, and he would need the 390 in order to keep up with Tony and jump ahead of him. And he would need more than the 390 to catch up to Constantine, because Constantine at that point was at, actually, he would have been passing Constantine, sorry, because actually Constantine weighed heavier. Constantine weighed 119.9 and Sank weighed in 119.46. So Constantine was at 920, Tony was at 915, Sank was at 900, but if he had gotten this, he would be at 920. And then Bryce was at the 895.5. So at least Sank had an outside shot. If he somehow pulls the 390 and everyone else misses, he can still be the world champion. But we go into third attempts, and that's where Tony has to decide what does he want to do. If his competitor Constantine is at 920 and he's at 915 and has body weight, then the minimum amount he needs is 355 to tie him on total, beat him on body weight, make him make another lift. And then from there is how much more do you want to go to put pressure on? 357, 360, 362. They end up going to 362. He was not able to lock it out, which is what costed him. So he's already out of it. So that's why I say when you're the person who has the weaker deadlift, you're behind on total, you have to make the move first. You have to pick something that 100% for sure you can make in order to stay in the game, put the pressure on your competitor, have to go pull for the win. 5 seconds on the clock, they have to go make the game-winning shot because you made the shot the play before. Whereas if you go too high and you miss, at that point you're out, it's game over. The other team won, they can just run the clock out and they take the win. So they pushed it a little bit too hard. Tony ends up missing his third squat, his third bench, and then his third deadlift, and that's what really costed him the fight here for the gold medal. So now he has to worry about these guys catching him from behind. Because like I said, Sank could still make the 390 and pass Tony. And Bryce could always take a big jump to 405.5 and try and pass Tony. So we move on to Constantine, who, like I said, he has to make one more just in case Sank makes the 390. So he ends up going, 7.5 kilo jump to 375. Gets the European record, and then bumps up his total to 927.5, also European record. And now Sank would have to go up off the miss. So he'd have to go up another 7.5 kilos to 397.5 if he wanted to chase the world championship, which you can see he didn't. At that point, he just wanted to go for silver because he was currently in bronze and worried that he'd fall into 4th place. So he retakes it. Again, doesn't get it. So Sank goes 1 for 3 on squat, 1 for 3 on bench press, 1 for 3 on deadlift, and drops his 962.5, I believe, nominated total all the way down to 900 and is sitting in bronze. And right behind him is Bryce waiting to take the spot. Bryce weighs lighter, so all he needs is 4.9 kilos. But at that point, he wanted to go after him to see whether Sank can get it as far as placing and the world record in the deadlift and the medal in the deadlift. So he wanted to go after him. So he wouldn't be able to do 390. He would have to go before him if he wanted to do 390, or if he wanted to do, that would be the minimum amount because he needed 4.5. So that would have got him to, yes, 390 is the minimum amount. So as soon as Sank misses, he drops his down from, I think it was whatever, 405 or whatever it was, down to 390.5. The 390.5 would be for the bumping up his world record, continuing to keep the gold medal in the deadlift, and then moving up 1 spot from 4th place to 3rd place. And you can go watch that. He gets it all the up just before lockout. He just can't get the shoulders back. Sometimes with sumo, with the hook grip and stuff like that, it can be difficult to get that last bit of getting the shoulders back. And so, unfortunately, he doesn't get that. So, it's so close to getting it. Like I said, the 385.5 didn't look as fast as Pan Americans. And you can see there where he just couldn't quite lock out the 390.5. So, he ends up with 895.5 in 4th place. So, I know he's a little bit disappointed there that he was that close and couldn't get it. But I know before the meet, he was talking about, like, he's just going to try and go out there, do what he wants, do what he's capable of, and build towards future years here in this weight class. He weighed in 117.32, so he has space to gain more muscle, fill out his body, and improve that squat and that bench press. So if he can get his squat closer like 325, get his bench press to 200 or more, and then hone in the technique further to be able to get that 390 or even 400 one day, he's really going to be able to add to his total and move up. And if he sticks around with Raw longer, since he went for equipped for a little bit and now he's back, he might be able to build up the bottom end strength for the squat and bench press to continue to make those stronger. And, Tony, unfortunately, missing all the thirds, you kind of like, you're lucky you're still in second, but, maybe if he was able to execute whatever the issue was and gotten 7.5 here, that would have got him to 922, and then the 5 here would have gotten him to 927. So then he would have been right there with him and could have taken a more conservative deadlift here to try and get the win. So unfortunate for Tony, couldn't execute. And Constantine Musayev is your world champion. Perfect 9 for 9 day. Bronze in squat, bronze in bench, silver in deadlift, and the gold overall. Looks like that pretty much covers everything as far as that weight class. Then we go into the 120 pluses. And this was kind of like, there's like 2 predictions. Like either it is going to be the Jesus show. He just, so far away on nominations. He's going to make temps and blow around the water. Or some people thought like, Eric Willis and Konovalov would like add on to their total. Maybe Jesus would have some issues with depth on squat or grip on deadlift. And maybe his total would come down and these lifters would be able to catch him. And it'd be a close battle or even pass them. And it turns out that the former played out where he won almost by 100 kilos, 1045 to 952.5. So he comes out hot on squat. He blew up that 387.5, jumps up to 420, 12.5. A little bit more difficult and smart move by them to take just like, 15 kilo jump to 427.5 for the junior world record. And he ended up like, almost missing. If you go watch the video, he comes out fast out of the hole. He hits a little bit of sticking point. And I think the spotters probably got scared thinking like, oh man, we have to pick this 427.5 off of him. But he ends up staying with it, sending it into another gear and locking it out. So he gets the world record and the gold medal. And at that point, you kind of knew like, okay, he's on now. And so then he goes and smokes his benches, 232, 245, 252.5 for another junior world record. Interestingly enough, the 252.5 was only good enough for 4th place bench. So the benches have really gone up because I feel like it used to be like, one lifter from Algeria or maybe him and Jezza in the, 250 range, but a lot of the other lifters were in the 225 to 235 range. Like no one really had a big bench. And then what do you know, he hits 252.5. And then you have this lifter, Romald, 255 with the bronze. You have Eric Willis, 257.5 with the silver, and Dimitro at 260 with the gold. So those benches are really going up. And then Jesus just does whatever he needs, to win. Opens up light enough that he felt comfortable. It looked like maybe the right hand was starting to go if they made him hold it longer, but he got the down command, brought it down. So at that point, he's the world champion. It's very difficult at that point for anyone to catch him. He jumps straight to 365, gets that, and that one seemed like it was slipping out more, but got the down command, brought it down, and got that. And then he goes to 377.5, and that's where he had more issues. So that one, he had trouble getting the shoulders back, and you can kind of see it slipping out of that right hand. So he ended up getting called 2 red cards on the sides, which were for not getting the shoulders back. But, still gets the bronze medal in the deadlift and 1045 total junior world record. So then the battle really came down to, okay, second and third place, what's going to happen? And you can see all the way down here in 10th place, Andrei Konovalov, for whatever reason, had a bad day. Not sure injury, what was going on. But I missed out on the beginning. So I missed out on the squat. So I didn't see the 345 to see how easy or difficult it was. But he misses 360, passes on the third. Then he misses 235. I believe I missed that one as well. But he comes back and gets it. And then goes to 245, misses. So now he's 2 for 6. And then he goes 310 and misses 327.5. So he twice, so he goes 3 for 9, kind of like Sank. So he goes 3 for 9, but he ends up being in 10th place. So then it becomes really a battle between Eric and Dimitro and Rico, Martin, Ruben here. So if we take a look at those, you can see, Eric Willis is the weaker squatter. He does 300, misses 320, gets 320 again, 12th on squat. Then Dimitro does 330, 350, 362. So he really puts a lot of kilos from opener third here and gets the bronze. And then Ruben here, 360, 375, 380. He gets the silver medal. 380 squats, a really big squat right there, and puts 20 kilos on. So he's leading out of the 3 after squats, but he's got the weaker bench press. So he does 225, 232, 235. You can see he gets 7th in the bench press. Whereas Dimitro and Eric go back and forth on the bench press, with Eric having the lower lot number, 12 versus 15. But he has the lighter body weight, 134 versus 141. So he goes 235 and then puts in 250. And then Dimitro goes 235 and puts in 250. Then Eric goes 250 and then puts in 257. So Dimitro goes 250. And so he puts in 260 in order to get the gold medal on the bench press because of the body weight. And it helps obviously in building that total where he gains a little bit more ground going into deadlift. So Eric gets 257 and then Dimitro gets a 260. So that is the silver and the gold. And now Dimitro has the 42.5 kilo lead here on squat, plus 2.5 here on the bench press. So he's up 45 kilos. But luckily for Eric Willis, he is the bigger deadlifter. And I don't know if they changed the weight or not, but you would think so because Dimitri opens up at 305 and Eric opens up at 350. So he covers that 45 kilo ground, tying on total, and Eric is the lighter lifter. And then down here you can see, whereas Ruben had the gain on squat, he gave up a lot of that on the bench press here. So if we backtrack his numbers, he was at 935 on the opener, and then Dimitro was at 937 is what I'm getting. And then Eric was at 927, it looks like. So after openers, Eric was... Sorry, I'm calculating that wrong. So let's just pull out the calculator. I'm going to bring this over. So Eric had 952.5 minus 25 from first to third. he was at 927.5. So am I calculating Dimitro's wrong? 952.5 minus 15. Yeah, how am I calculating that wrong? Oh, sorry, 25. That's what I'm doing wrong. 952.5 minus 25 from 305 to 330, 927.5. So they're both at 927.5, and Ruben was at 935. So sorry for my bad math right there. And I also did bad math here, 15 kilos, so 930. Sorry. So Ruben was in the lead after opening deadlifts there. Maybe in the future I should just like pull this over in a lifting cast and do a play-by-play. But Ruben was in the lead with 930, and then Eric at 927 and Dimitro at 927. So then we go into the second attempts, and Ruben does the 330, so he adds 15 kilos, gets to 945, and then Dimitro takes a 25 kilo jump to go ahead of Ruben and continue to put pressure on Eric. And so he gets 952.5. And so since Eric got to see this 25 kilo jump, he ended up putting in a 20 kilo jump for whatever reason. Maybe he felt like 25 was too aggressive and he didn't want to miss or whatever, but he put in a 20 kilo jump to actually, at that point, then be behind. So this 20 kilo jump gets him to 947.5. So now Dimitro has gained some ground on him by taking the bigger jump here. So now Ruben's at 345, Eric's at 347.5, and then Dimitro's at 352.5. So Dimitro's in a good spot being ahead after second attempts, but Eric still has the bigger deadlift. So in actuality, Dimitro now goes first. He wants to pad up his total more. So he goes 340 to try and put another 10 kilos on after he took the 25, and he misses. So now he's stuck at the 952.5. So then Ruben goes, and he did the 15 kilo jump. So he's like, okay, I'll do another 15 kilo jump to put his total up really high to where Eric can't catch him, and he passes Dimitro. Now, it wasn't the minimum they needed. So again, if you look, he does weigh heavier. So he would need 955. So he would need 340 in order to be in the silver medal position. To get to 955 being the silver medal position, and then see what Eric wants to do, and he would already be ahead of Dimitro at that point. But they decided to go a little bit further, thinking, okay, Eric has a big deadlift, he's going to try and pull more and more. So they ended up going 345, and it was just a little bit too much. So at that point, you're thinking, man, it would be interesting to see what would have happened if he had taken the 340 to get to 955, and then Eric would have had to have decided, does he want to go 375 for bronze, or does he want to go 377.5 for the silver? And I would think he would go 377.5 for the silver, since there's only 2.5 kilo difference, and he's won before, he's a world champ, so maybe he just wanted to, at that point, get as high as he could go. But at that point, once Ruben missed, he is out. He's in 4th place, and Dimitro is in 2nd place, and Eric is in 3rd place, being 5 kilos behind. So he takes the 5 kilo jump to 375, gets it, ties on total, wins on body weight. So good little battle there, and very key for Eric to come back and get the squat. Because if he missed second, if he had missed a third, he would have lost 20 kilos there. And then at that point, he would just be too far behind to catch any of these guys. So really key of him to come back and get that squat and then just make what he needed on bench. And then he was in a position to pull for, the final deadlift, which worked out well for him. Whereas these guys, Dimitro and Ruben, made 3 squats, made 3 benches, but their deadlift just can't keep up with Eric, and they just couldn't execute on picking the right 3rd attempt. They went a little bit too aggressive, assuming that Eric would have a lot more in him, and they missed. So again, this is a thing where, picking something that for sure you can make. You don't have the bigger deadlift. Compared to Eric, they both don't have the body weight. So at that point, you just have to make something and boost up your total more. Like Ruben could have done 340 and gone to 955. And on the flip side, Dimitro could have gone, 335 and gone to 957.5. I know we're doing Monday Night Quarterback, Monday morning, saying we're the best coaches in the NFL or whatever in powerlifting and saying, okay, they could have done this, they could have done that. And in a moment, it's different. I understand that. But the point is, we're analyzing what's going on so that hopefully you, if you're a lifter or coach, or you can make a better decision as point. You can go and think, okay, I don't have the advantages. I don't have the deadlift advantage. I don't have the body weight advantage. So I need to make sure I put something on the bar to put pressure on that lifter who does have the deadlift advantage. Make Eric have to pull 377.5 or whatever it would be depending on what they end up making, and make him have to go out there and be like, shit, I got to do this weight. Let's see what his PR is. Maybe do a weight that he's never done before. He has to go and pull for the win. It's been a fast competition, and put all the stress on him. So it looks like his PR is 370.5 at Pan Americans. So I already put a little bit pressure on him doing 375. But again, you could have put more pressure on him, do 377.5. So interesting little battle there. And Dimitro and Ruben were in a really good spot until the very end. And having a big deadlift always helps out, where you can go for that home run pull. 375 wasn't that much of a home run pull from, but still. And then Wesley Hall here gets the silver in the deadlift. But, all these 905s were a bit behind the top four. But, they still battled out for 5, 6, 7. You can see Wesley Hall gets the big jump to get up in the total and the deadlift, whereas these two guys, Robert missed 2 deadlifts and Ramald missed his deadlift. And even this lifter, Jari, below him from Finland, missed second and third deadlift. So these guys couldn't quite execute to keep up with them. So I think that covers that weight class as far as everything I'm seeing. David Lupock had a disappointing day as well. Let me go see what his best numbers were as well, because it looks like he was off. So his best number is 920. So he's done a 350 squat and he only did 325, missed 335. He's done a 243.5 bench and he only did 235. So at least that wasn't as far off. And then he did a 350 deadlift before. And then here he only does a 310. So not sure what happened there. The squat and deadlift were much lower, but he had a disappointing day because people expected him to be in there as well. So then we look at the team points, and the team points were a little bit closer. Corey, I'll get to your question once I do the overall review here. So, Russia did enough with their 2 golds and then their 2 silvers. So they didn't even need Konovalov to, win or get top 3 or anything like that. They were still able to pull it off. Sweden here in second with their 1 gold, just beating out France here with their 1 gold. So France didn't quite have the depth here. You can see how they got the 4 points. And then same thing with USVI, didn't have the depth. They had, Russ, Kaiko, and Jesus. And then they just didn't have enough time to have any other lifters from USAPL switch over to USVI. So they only scored 4 lifters. They didn't even have a full 8-man team, but they didn't even have 5 lifters to score the full 5. You have the top 5 point scorers from your 8 lifter roster get scored. So they only scored 4 and they were still able to get 4th place. So if they had someone else in here that could have gotten, instead of 1 point, or sorry, aside from them could have gotten, 5 points, they would have been up here with France. Or if they got 7 or 8 points, they would have been up there with Sweden. So sucks that they didn't get able to field a full team, but good that they were still able to get 4th. You got Canada here at 5th, Ukraine at 6th, Great Britain at 7. And then we go down to the best lifters, and you can see 116.9 to 116.6. So Anatoly did just what he needed. He had the win secured already, basically on the opener, and then the second attempt really pads his total to secure it, and then that third was to secure the best lifter. So he gets the best lifter, and then Russ gets second, going a little bit conservative on the squat and bench press. So maybe if he had pushed a little bit more, he'd be able to put the pressure on Anatoly. And then Kaiko gets the bronze. So that covers those men's weight classes and the teams and the best lifters. Corey here in the chat saying, is this the last time we will see USA lifters representing the USVI, or will this be more than a one-off after this year? It'll be interesting to see, like, even if everything gets figured out as far as USAPL, let's say everything gets figured out as far as either USAPL signs the agreement or USAPL leaves and another affiliate comes, and so now you have a new US affiliate. It'll be interesting to see if any lifters still take advantage. I'll switch over here. Still take advantage of the opportunity to switch to USVI easily, because all you need is the passport. So some lifters may stay with USVI, like, Kimberly Wofford is there, Gene Bell is there, maybe Ian Bell stays there with Gene, maybe some other people stay there and don't switch back. But I think for the most part, if the opportunities is available, whether it's through USAPL or another US affiliate, the majority of them are going to come back, because it depends on what the long-term plan is for USVI as far as qualifying. This year, they had maybe some leeway in saying, okay, we understand you did USAPL Nationals, and then all this got switched over on you, and so you have to, you can't go to Nationals, so you have to make the team, or you can't make the team. So they end up selecting the team based on the USAPL Nationals and letting those lifters come in. But maybe next year they'll say, hey, you have to come to our USVI Nationals in, St. Croix or St. Thomas, wherever it's going to be during this month. And some lifters may not want to spend the money every year to fly down. For me in Miami, it's easy to fly to like St. Croix. For someone who lives in like, Seattle or Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, something like that, it may be more difficult and more money to fly all the way down there to compete each time to qualify for Worlds. And then what other meets will you want to do? Like if you do the one USVI Nationals and you do your one Worlds, then what if you want to compete more? Some people do it 3 times a year. Some people do, like, Bonica does 4 or 5 times raw and equipped, sometimes bench only, sometimes full power. And so then what can you do? So are there other meets you can go? There's like the Reykjaviks in Iceland that you can go to, or maybe you guest lift at Canadian National, something like that. But it may be difficult. So it may be easier to switch back to USAPL or a new US affiliate, whoever is the affiliate of the IPF, in the continental US, and be able to do more local meets, regional meets, the Arnold, Nationals, all those things on top of the World Championship. And it'll be easier to travel to, possibly, depending on where it is, whether it's, Orlando or Chicago or Vegas or wherever like that. So I think the majority of them will switch back, and majority of the people who are trying to switch or looking to make the national team going forward will stick with USAPL or the new US affiliate, whatever it is. And I think only maybe a few people will stay in USVI, or maybe someone will switch over to USVI if, like, they feel like they can't be Russ, and they're like, oh, well, I can go to USVI and then go to Worlds and get podium at Worlds. But if I stay with, let's say, USAPL as the affiliate, and I lose to Russ at Nationals, then I don't even get to go to Worlds. So some people may try and take advantage of the opportunity now that they see it's out there. But I think for the most part, we will return back to a normal, whether it's with USAPL still being the IPF affiliate or a new US affiliate coming in and those lifters just coming back. It's also cheaper. The USAPL membership is $65 and the USVI membership is $20 per month. And so for some of these lifters that have to stay part of the USVI, in the road to Worlds, and then still maybe paying for, like, the month of Worlds, they may be paying $60 for 3 months. Or if they want to come back to Nationals next year, they're going to be paying for 12 months, $20 a month, $240 versus the $65 for USAPL or whatever the new affiliate will be set at. So that is my prediction, Corey. It could be completely wrong, but I think we will return to normal at some point, and those lifters will come back. The other thing I want to go over, let me switch back to my computer, and that is going to be the fantasy league. So now that we have the Facebooks back online, hopefully the hackers didn't take all our data and all my super secret personal information. You can come over here, Tournament of Champions live scoreboard, and see our final scoreboard, including the tiebreakers. And you can see right at the top, SSPT, Matt Gary, no tiebreaker needed. He gets first place, 130 points. Right behind him is our boy, Rory Lynch, 129 points. And then we got Carol breaking barbells, 127, winning on the tiebreaker over Matt Champion here for fourth. And rounding out the top 5 is Irene here, 126. Then you can go down and see, Mike Gold here, 6th place. Ramsey from White Lights Media here, 10th place. Anaharo here, 11th place. Ali, who annoys me on Instagram, 12th place. Avocado was in first place that one day, but they fell down to 13th. I believe this one, Allison told me this is her. So see that 15th place. You got our boy Six Pack Lapidat, who cheated at 18th, because when we did our preview episode and we did our picks, we agreed that we would not change our picks from what we said on the podcast. And Ryan went and switched his picks like the cheater that he is. He wanted to do whatever he can to try and beat you all, and he still lost. So he switched Kimberly, which actually, ended up hurting him, because he had Kimberly at 3rd place. I think he had picked Anna to win. I don't remember the points, but he ended up switching to Kimberly like a little cheater. Just put her at 5 points and ended up missing that. And then he switched Sank. So he thought, Sank was going to win easily because he was ahead 40 or 60 kilos on nominations. He's like, oh, none of these guys are going to catch up to him. The weight cut's not that bad, blah, blah. I think he had him pretty high at 11. So again, he ends up still picking Tony, who didn't end up winning and losing 7 points. But still, a little cheater right there, switching those and trying to catch up on us. So if he had stuck to his points, Wild Bill would have actually passed him. But they ended up tying on points and Ryan winning on tiebreaker. But, he still cheated. So we want everyone to know that. Carrington, who won the USAPL Nationals, gets 22nd place. Khalil here, 23. My boy Paul Bellinger beating me on tiebreaker here at 24th place. And I technically round out the top 25. Actually, we tied on tiebreaker, sorry. But I'll still give him 24th, and I'll take 25th to round out the top 25. And then you can go and see the rest of it all if you want to go check it out, see where you rank. And you can see that there was 177. So I got, 25 out of 177. And I believe the total points is 136 that you could have gotten. So Matt got 130 out of 136 points. So he got 95.6% accuracy there. So that's, really good at him. And even if you go down, let's say you beat me. So let's take me at 119. So at 119 out of 136, I was at 87.5% accuracy. So, I got a B plus, but all of you ahead of me are A students, and congrats on your placing. If you're interested in doing this more often, then let us know. You can always throw it in the comments down below. You can message King List, let Ryan know, throw it in our comments when we post up the actual graphics of the place and everything like that, to see if whether you want to do this. If I pull up the Ipf calendar real quick. This video is getting long, so hopefully I don't want to make it too much longer. So what we can do it for is, one, we can do it for the Equip Worlds in November. Okay, so if any of you are interested in doing the Equip side, let us know. We can just do it for fun. Again, I'm not as experienced either, so we can just throw up some rosters together, see how we all do. And then we also have the European Open Classic Championships here in December. So if you all want to do the European Championship, some of the lifters will be the same. Some lifters you have to look into. For those of you who are in Europe, maybe you'll be more interested in this. We can get some new people. We can do that. And then we'll build towards next year, next year's USAPL Nationals or whatever it ends up being, and then next year's Worlds. Other way you can communicate with us if you want, and let us know your ideas. If you like the Fantasy League, if you want to do it more often, hop into our Discord server and come and accept the invite, make it a little count, and come and chit chat with us. Like I said, Carol's in there, Paul's in there, Ryan's always in there, Rory's in there, I'm in there, Mike's in there. So you can come and bounce ideas off with us of as far as what you think we should do with the Fantasy League going forward, which meets to do. and any other ideas that you have for the King of the List podcast. But other than that, I think I am done. I think we covered everything. That is an hour and 20 minutes breaking down the weight classes, the team awards, the best lifter awards, the fantasy league, Discord server. If you have any other questions about the world championships in general, of how you can qualify depending what country you're from, everything like that, you can always throw those in the comments afterwards when this live stream just goes up. And I'll always be able to help you all out, figure out who to talk to in your country or how to qualify, everything like that. And like I said, you can always contact us in the Discord server or me on Instagram. But other than that, I'm going to shut it down. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Hopefully, you all enjoyed this, got something taken away from it as far as attempt selection and strategy, depending on different scenarios. And maybe in the future, we'll break down some specific cases, go over the lifting cast and break it down attempt by attempt and see how the totals and everything change so that you all can learn something. But other than that, I'm going to shut it down. Hope you all have a good night.